the show. This show is all about you. Not you, but you and your story. Because everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Brought to you by JeffSeltzer.com.
Hello and welcome to Everybody Has a Story with Jeff Seltzer. I'm your host, Jeff Seltzer, and this is once again my own personal midlife crisis. This is episode 70, which is pretty exciting, which means we're 70% of the way to 100, which is a pretty cool fact, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Anyway, I got two guests on today who generally go way over in time, so I'm going to keep my opening short. So real quick, want to drop the plugs here. So as always, you can check out the show on Instagram at Everybody Has a Story Pod. YouTube is at Everybody Has a Story Pod. You can email the show directly at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com. For all things Jeff Seltzer, you can always check me out at jeffseltzer.com. Everybodyhasastorypod.com is also another fun place to go. We're on all podcast platforms, video on Spotify and YouTube, audio on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Pandora. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you could probably find this one. And before we go any further, also quick shout out to Claire, who's been listening to the episodes and loves Daniel Pods. So Claire, hope you're listening and hello. With that said, I'm going to bring in my two guests for this week. I'd like to bring in both Daniel Ireland and Marcus Perkal. Gentlemen, how are we today?
Doing well. Good to see you, Jeff.
Good to see you as well.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you as always for both of you guys joining, as you guys are up to, if not the most listened to guests on the show. I think Marcus has the longest episode of all time, but I think Daniel might have the most cumulative minutes. So we'll have our our intern for the summer put together some more stats for us later in the show and see what we could do with that. So cool. So thank you guys both for joining. It's been a few weeks or a few months, I guess, since, so figured it was time to bring the gang back together to talk about our trip to Las Vegas for WrestleMania 42 week. So a couple of years ago, Daniel and I did the first pod with this as we had our buddy Steven on to talk about WrestleMania in Philly. Last year, we did the same thing, but with Daniel and Marcus. I didn't go to WrestleMania. Marcus and Daniel went. And we talked about their experiences as they tried to make me jealous, but I just had a good time listening and watching through their eyes, which was awesome. This year, despite the fact that Marcus claimed he wasn't going to WrestleMania, he did go to WrestleMania, and Daniel and myself went as well. So first of all, before we get into kind of details or stories or whatever, let's start off with Marcus. So overall, how was your experience, your weekend, and did you enjoy it?
Yeah. So the week it was great. I'm glad that I acquiesced and decided to go. For me, it was a location thing. I mean, I feel like we've discussed this on our pre-WrestleMania podcast, but I love Las Vegas. I just wasn't feeling going to New Orleans. Las Vegas worked out well for me. I had a great time. Different than last year's trip for sure. And yeah, I honestly have no regrets.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. We'll get into some details momentarily. Daniel, same question for you. I know you had always planned on going, especially once they announced that you and I were going to New Orleans, Vegas, we're going to the moon. Probably not the moon. I probably would have gotten sick flying into space. But wherever it was going, you and I were probably going. So overall thoughts. I know you had a very similar experience the year before, obviously different locations and such like that. But overall, happy with the experience. You had a sidekick who would abandon you at times, but overall, you had a good time this year?
Yeah, well, first of all, we need to stop calling it a weekend. I think it was like 6 days, nearly 7 days. Let's go with weekend.
That's fair.
I think, as I said on the pre-show before we headed, one of the highlights is having you back, having my planner back, having the guy that tells me where I need to be, when I need to be, was awesome. So, in all seriousness, that did add to the experience. Had a great time last year, but obviously outside catching up with Marcus and a few other buddies a couple of times. This time, obviously, having company pretty much the whole time was awesome. And I think I liked, what I really liked was the balance of the itinerary as well. Like, we had some really cool stuff with WWE, but we also did independent stuff that I'm sure we'll get to, but also some non-wrestling stuff. So for any non-wrestling fans out there, hold on. There will be probably 30 seconds in this pod where we don't talk about wrestling, but I thought that was a really cool addition this year, how we did a couple other the Vegas attractions as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. And yeah, if Claire's still listening, yes, there will be a couple of non-wrestling and let's say local cultural aspects in Vegas we'll talk about as well. So before getting into some of the cool stuff that we did, let's talk a little travel. So initially, Daniel, you were going to fly in Tuesday night. I was going to fly in Wednesday. And I think Marcus also flew in on Wednesday. this is my kind of last minute adjustment to whatever. I ended up flying in Tuesday night with Daniel. And for me, in hindsight, I'm super happy that I did. I'm not a great traveler to begin with. Time zones kind of kill me. So flying in Tuesday night helped me in the fact that we flew in, we got in, kind of late. I was able to sleep in and able to kind of time adjust, throughout the day when we got there, whatever. So for me, it was super helpful. Marcus, I know you flew in Wednesday and got there in time for our first wrestling show, Pottermania, which being all three of us are feminists, that's obviously why we went to that show. It was an all women's wrestling show. How was your travel experience? I know for me, I get anxiety about everything in life, but especially about travel. Were you okay or nervous at all about getting in late? Did you feel pretty good that you're going to make the show? Where's your head at?
It was a pretty worry-free travel day there. Unfortunately, based off of where I live, it is tough to get direct flights places. So I had a layover in Nashville. But when I'm booking my flights, I'm very cognizant of that. And while, once I'm at the airport, I'm pretty chill and laxed. The thought of when I'm looking at flights and there's flights that have a 30-minute layover, a 40-minute layover, and boarding starts 45 minutes before a flight and they close doors 15 minutes before, I'm very cognizant of that. So I had, between what was supposed to be my landing and my takeoff, an hour, 50 minutes. So my first flight ended up getting delayed a couple minutes. We made it up in the air and I had an hour to, in the airport to mosey around before I had to make my second flight. So unfortunately I made a bad food choice and just should have not tried to be adventurous. It just wasn't, I just wasted money. It wasn't good. It's not like I was upset stomach or anything, but just a bad choice, and then sitting on a plane for a couple hours after, not the best, but yeah, it was pretty relaxed.
Nice. And then you flew in, you stayed at, was it the MGM hotel? Is that right?
The MGM Grand, yeah.
And
the plan was, as we've discussed prior, I am a psychopath, especially when it comes to autograph wrestling figures. So I had shipped in a box of figures to get signed. So my plan was land. We paid for early check-in, $40, very well spent. Split that 2 ways. Checked in at noon. Got to our room, dropped our stuff, picked up the boxes. They were waiting for us. Back to the room, ditched them, and then went to meet up with you guys at. We went to In-N-Out before we went to Pottermania, right?
We did, yes. So Daniel and I, since we'd been there the night before, we went to a bar first, and then we met up at In-N-Out, where we saw was it Mansoor?
Mansoor, yeah.
Mansoor, the wrestler from AEW, which. For me, it was pretty cool because that was kind of a nice, welcome to the week, I guess, seeing a wrestler. And also, it's funny to me, I was just seeing them out of character, just eating a burger, right? Like a normal person. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a joke. I was like, oh, that looks like Mansoor. And then I was like, that actually is Mansoor. So, yeah.
Yeah, and what's funny, too, is I think earlier that day, Daniel, keep me honest, I think we went to Marcus Mathers, your old buddy, Tarzan, and maybe a couple of other guys ahead of time as well, right?
That's a podcast friend, Tarzan.
That's right. Yeah, a former podcast guest from the first PWJ wrestling podcast, Tarzan, who we thought was wrestling Nick Gage, but it was not the man. So that was that. Daniel, from our side, we stayed at the Residence Inn, which I thought was a fantastic choice. Little planning behind the scenes. Months earlier, Daniel had sent me 6 different options. Looking through it, Residence Inn was great because it was the one place where it was a suite of sorts, and it wasn't super expensive. Where we each had our own room, our own bathroom, but we shared a living room. So we were together, but we weren't, as 2 old grown men can be, private, but also, have a little shared area too, which was nice.
Yeah, I thought it worked out really well. I thought our travel in general was pretty smooth. I maybe worked a little bit too much on the way there. I think I worked from the minute we got in the air to the minute we landed. So anyone listening from the company we may or may not work for, just guys, is working. But really, really, really smooth, no issues. Definitely glad you joined me the night before. And then, always, not gonna lie, a little bit nervous. You left me to organize one thing for the whole trip until we actually got in that hotel room and it passed Jeff's standards.
Yep,
there's definitely a little bit of nervousness. So I think we landed really nice. I think the location was good. I think the hotel was a perfect setup for what we needed.
Yep.
Other thing I'll shout out is for the first time ever, I shared my location with someone. So Marcus, I think, could still follow where I went. So first time ever, actually. I don't share. My wife doesn't have my location. So that's how serious
it's still shared.
I know. If I ever get lost somewhere, just Jeff, just get Marcus to find me, okay?
I'll get Marcus. Yeah, and for the record, Daniel and I didn't share with each other because I didn't want him finding me in the large stall in the men's restroom in our office. That'd be kind of weird. So, where's Jeff? Oh, check the handicap stall across the corner. Yeah. So again, the hotel was perfect. A great location. It was like a quick 10-minute walk, I think, to the Collective. The Uber wasn't too far from the World. It was just a really great setup, a great area there. Okay, so without going day by day and event by event, let's start off with some of the non-wrestling stuff that we did. So, Marcus, feel free to listen or feel free to edit anything that you might have done non-wrestling. But for me, as I said before, like going to Vegas, I didn't want to just do wrestling stuff. There was a couple of things I was really looking forward to. So, number one was the Sphere. So the Sphere opened a few years ago in Vegas. As many people probably know, they've done a lot of concerts. They do all sorts of stuff. But as I think I teased a few months ago, they also have the Wizard of Oz playing, which was just insane. The reviews that I've heard and seen were crazy. And Daniel, keep me honest here, I would say the experience fully delivered. Like when you're in there, like the screens are ridiculous. It's very experiential. Like you almost feel like you're in a movie. And the movies from the 1930s, like what they did to the quality of the video does not look like the movie's like 90 years old at this point. It was nuts.
It was really cool. Like that experience of just being in the Sphere. And when you said you wanted to go to the Wizard of Oz, I was like, sure, let's check it out. Let's see what it is. Did a little bit of research, and yeah, and the hype for it definitely lived up. Like, I don't want to spoil it for anyone that doesn't go, but it's a totally immersive experience. But I think it started by Jeff and I just sitting there happily relaxed and waiting on it showing. And then suddenly the speakers in front of us that were hanging from the roof disappeared. We literally thought that was the theater speakers that were set up there. The effects were so good that never even caught. We're like, where did the speakers go? And then super engaging, like great crowd as well, super engaged crowd. But I was really, really glad we did it because I've never been to the Sphere, so it was my first trip to the Sphere. Standing outside and watching Formula One in the past, so to actually finally go in was super.
Awesome. Yeah, so I loved it as well. I would say anybody in the Vegas area definitely go see something at the Sphere. Either see the Wizard of Oz, or I know the Backstreet Boys are coming back. And there's other concerts that are going to happen as well. So definitely go out of your way. It's a little pricey, but it's definitely worth it. The other thing I would say that I did, which I thought was amazing, and Daniel joined me in this as well, was Universal Horror Unleashed. So as most listeners of the show know, every September I go to Orlando for Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. And about a year ago, Las Vegas opened up their own Universal year-long attraction. So basically, Horror Nights in Orlando and Hollywood are open about 2 or 3 months out of the year. This is a 12-month thing where it's always open. And I think they are going to start rotating some of the houses. I definitely felt like I was in Halloween Horror Nights, but in Vegas instead of Orlando, which was amazing. They had, I think it was Texas Chainsaw, Classic Monsters, and 2 other houses. It really felt great. I would say it was even better than Orlando in the fact that you could take your time through the house. There were points in the houses where you could stop, and they actually were doing a scene for you, and you almost felt like you were like an audience of 1 or 2 watching. Like, it was crazy. So anybody who's a fan of haunted houses, a Halloween Horror Nights, or anything like that, definitely would suggest checking it out. Plus, they had a really cool bar scene and just like a kind of cool effects and such. Daniel, I don't know. Have you been to Horror Nights before in Florida?
I've only done once, did the Universal ones once, and then I did the Six Flags one down in New Jersey.
Fright Fest doesn't count.
It really compared. So compared to this is really cool. If anyone knows Vegas, it's out at the sort of Area 41 area where there's a ton of cool stuff. But the experience was awesome. I love the fact that we could stop for a cocktail between every single house.
Yes.
There was no real rush to get through, but also just the experiential stuff going on in the bars. Like you'd be sitting there, a guy with a chainsaw sits down beside you, you're walking around, you get pulled into like a little magic trick. Just a really cool experience for something a little bit different in Vegas.
Definitely cool. So again, Daniel, thank you as always for sharing that experience with me and for being there. I thought it was really cool and a lot of fun. So back to Marcus. So Marcus, first of all, thank you for for listening to Daniel and I talk about our experiences that were not wrestling related. I know while Claire might have enjoyed that, the wrestling fan out there might not really enjoy it as much. So thank you for sitting tight with that one. So getting back to you. So you've been to many WrestleManias now. This was, how many WrestleMania weeks have you been to now?
I think this was 8, I believe.
8. So your jersey said 8, right? That was the number on it?
If it should have, it's somewhere. I think this was 8, but I should know that. But yeah, I believe 8.
And to that point, I do also want to thank Marcus for organizing the custom WrestleMania jerseys. So for those that don't know, every year when Marcus goes, him and his friends generally have customized jerseys where on the front it'll say WrestleMania and what year it is or what number it is, and on the back it'll have either their name or their as well as the number of WrestleManias they've been to. So for me, this was the first time that I've been to a WrestleMania week since I've become friends with Marcus, which is amazing. So I have my own WrestleMania jersey on the back of the seltzer. And instead of my typical 77, it had the number 7 on the back because this was my 7th WrestleMania I had been to. So Marcus, we'll just go with the assumption that yours says number 8 because this was
8. It's 8. I just did a quick count. It's 8.
Very good, very good. So looking over the week and looking at the things that you did, the experiences you had, what were some of the key moments that you really enjoyed, or going into you were looking forward to, or kind of some cool things that you picked up?
I'm able to talk about wrestling now, or do you want me to say like the 2 not wrestling things that I did?
You can talk about whatever you like, Marcus.
Okay. Well, so I will say non-wrestling. In Las Vegas, I love the high roller Ferris wheel. It's just something that I've done it probably 6 or 7 times at this point. It's Ferris wheel. It takes 30 minutes to go around one time. And there's a bar in your pod, and you get to see unparalleled views of the strip. All the lights, everything. So I did that after WrestleMania Saturday. We went, grabbed dinner, and then did that. And then also, I had no intention of really doing this. I know I told Jeff like the day before he left, I was like, I think I might be bailing on one event that we have tickets for. But instead, as we were sitting at that event, I ended up buying tickets for Dana White's Power Slap, which it sounds barbaric.
It is barbaric.
It is. I was going to say it is barbaric, but it was a great time. We bought tickets 30 minutes before doors open. We ended up with basically a couch was our seat. We had like a little suite, and it was a great time. It was just something unexpected. It was fast moving. It wasn't a late night, and that was a lot of fun. Otherwise, I mean, I loved both nights of WrestleMania. I think that without going too far into it, leading up to WrestleMania, a lot of wrestling fans, myself included, thought maybe it wasn't going to, be the grandest stage of them all, if you will. But looking back, I definitely think at least the second night, especially, I thought it was fantastic. And then WWE World I spent a lot of time there this year. I think that they have fine-tuned that. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little more, but that was where I really spent a lot more time than I expected. And I had a great time the whole time I was there, even if I was just getting in steps and following Jeff in circles to make sure that we got our 10,000 steps in.
No doubt. Awesome. Yeah. And we'll get into it a bit too, but I would say, and this is my learning that I was going to put later on, but I'll kind of hint at it now. I absolutely love the world. So in 2013 for WrestleMania in Jersey, I went to Access, which was kind of like predated the world. And it was fine. It was kind of was what it was. Also in 2001 in Houston, I went to Access, which was convention center. It was a really cool setup. Last year or 2 years ago in Philly, Daniel and I did not go to the world. We basically focused our entire time around the Collective, which was all the indie shows, and then WrestleMania. So this is my first time, in a decade hitting up the world or whatever their convention was. And I fell in love. Like for me, like I loved the, they had a bunch of random lines for like free photos with wrestlers, even like random, like referees. Like I thought it was just really, really cool. They also had a lot of the, the paid for the higher end ones. So, Daniel and I got Steve Austin. As a group, we got Gunther. Marcus and I got Kendall Gray, a bunch of others, which for me, I absolutely love those experiences. Plus, like the merch store, I thought was really cool, and some of the exhibits as well too. Like they had, and I'll post this picture probably with this episode, but like a make your own like Topps WWE card, which I thought was really cool. That I almost knocked myself out jumping off the top to get the picture, but you decide for yourself how the picture looks. So I'll say for me, like the world was probably like my most surprising thing because like going into it, I was like, I'm not sure, but I absolutely loved it. I think, and this is also a learning I was going to say later, but I'll talk to it now. I'm recognizing that as I get older, because I'm going to be 49 in a couple of months, like I can't do like shows till 3 a.m, like 4 or 5 nights in a row anymore. Like I'm not wired for that or built for that. And that's where I think Daniel and I kind of split up a little bit where like and also I think the benefit of having the suite was great because then I was able to leave, went to bed. Whenever he came back, like I didn't wake up at all. He went to his room, slept, and we both woke up, around the same time in the morning. So I got my 8 hours of sleep and Daniel got about an hour and a half, which was always fun. But like I definitely have some changes I would make for future WrestleManias, which I'll summarize later on. But for me, again, like my biggest surprise was the world. So I think in the next WrestleMania, whether it be in 2 years or whatever it might be, if Marcus and whoever else goes, I would probably adjust my itinerary a little bit more to be Marcus-ish versus traditional Jeff-ish.
Well, I mean, I did without going on like a whole rant. I did adjust my itinerary, Jeff. And I mean Daniel also, as we were talking in the lead up. I was saying that like I actually was stressed, not with fights, but with how many meet and greets I had booked for WrestleMania, for the World, and then they started posting the free ones, and there was a lot of wrestlers who I were like, this is someone who I would like to meet. And then I was thinking about WrestleCon, which in the past is where I usually spent most of my time. And I was looking at, and weighing, all right, you got to pay for admission to WrestleCon, you got to pay to meet all these wrestlers. I've already paid for WWE World. And with knowing that next year's WrestleMania wasn't going to be in the US, and I'm more than likely not going, a lot of the names that are at WrestleCon are around. They'll be at WrestleCon in Minneapolis for SummerSlam this summer. They do virtual signings, whatever else. If you're a WWE contracted wrestler, like you're not out. And I decided I just was going to skip WrestleCon and spend all my days at WWE World. And looking back, like I said, I have no regrets on doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll pass it on to Daniel in a second also. But I'll say, so Daniel and I went to WrestleCon in Jersey last August when SummerSlam was in Jersey. And for the most part, like there weren't any wrestlers at WrestleCon this year that I was looking at and I was like, hey, I absolutely want to get a picture with. Like it was a lot of repeats versus last August. So for me, again, it was no-brainer to prioritize the collective wrestling events and the World, because I was like, there's nobody I need to pay to get in to see and then actually go pay to get a picture with. So I'm aligned with you on that, Marcus. And also, again, the fact that with WrestleMania being out of the States next year, a lot of those guys, assuming that they're still under contract, which again, a lot of them got let go.
A lot of the names that we met already aren't. So
right, and a lot of the names that I didn't get, I could possibly get at the big event later this year as well. So we'll see.
Correct.
Daniel, what were your key moments or key highlights or the things that you enjoyed the most during the week?
Great question. Like a ton of things. So I also enjoyed the World. I'm not going to lie. I had a couple of days where I popped there, but to me, it's not my priority. I think I've mentioned before, I'm not really as big into the pictures of the wrestlers. It's cool to get a couple, but for me, 2 hours at the World was kind of enough. It was cool to see the exhibits. The store was cool, but me standing in lines for hours and hours to get a quick picture with all that, it's just not my gig. But it was. I'm glad we got a couple of cool ones. But I will agree that the exhibits at the World were super cool. Like some really cool stuff to do, and that store was incredible. So for me, I really enjoyed GCW this year. I know we talked about the collective. I thought the venue was fantastic. I was skeptical after the venue they had last year, which was the Palms Theatre, which was brilliant. But actually, I thought they did a nice job with the venue they had this year. It was super spacious. I thought the setup was good. We had great seats. Thank you, Jeff. And I thought that the card was good. We didn't do as many shows as we've done in the past, but I thought that every show that we did hit it out of the park. I actually thought the quality of the shows was probably better than last year. So I was super happy with the choices there. My only regret from the week is probably, and it's not even a wrestling decision, realized that the Vegas Golden Knights playoff game was on the second day of Mania. Never even realized until I got back to the hotel and the second period was kicking off.
Oh, so, right. We were right there anyway, right? It was basically on the way back. We walked back, right?
On the way back, I could have given you my stuff to take back to the hotel, Jeff, and I could have went to the Golden Knights game. But that was probably my only regret I missed that. But from a wrestling perspective, I was super happy with the shows I went to. Enjoyed the experience I had at the World. From a Mania perspective, I thought it was meh. I thought the first day was okay. I thought the second day was a remarkable improvement. But like I've not watched it back, for example. I've not went on to ESPN and watched it back. I don't think I ever will. Yep. Whereas like last year I did. I thought last year's Mania was a heck of a lot better. This year was it was good, but I didn't think it was as good as last year.
Got it. So two things in total transparency. So number one, as mentioned earlier, I guess my my stamina in terms of staying awake wasn't as great as I like it to be as I got older. So much so that after WrestleMania night 2, Daniel and I went back to the hotel room. He went out to a comedy club, and I think I went straight to sleep. So we had very different, let's say, post-game shows after WrestleMania night 2. Secondly, I agree with you, Daniel. The only thing that I watched back, I will say, was the Danhausen, John Cena, Miz portion of WrestleMania night 2. For those that aren't aware, I think I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago on an episode. Danhausen is one of my, if not my favorite, like wrestler or entertainer out there right now. So the fact that he got like a WrestleMania moment with John Cena and also some other favorite wrestlers, Kit Wilson and The Miz. Like I just absolutely, it clicked for me, and I thought it was entertaining. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Yep. Marcus, you actually, so while Daniel and I flew back on Monday, you also flew back on Monday, but you flew back much later Monday. Do you want to talk through your experience and even your experience at the airport as you're waiting for your flight?
Yeah. So I took the red eye back Monday night. I believe my flight was at like 11:30 or something like that. So 11:30 p.m. So I went to WWE World on Monday, dropped off my boxes, to ship out, went to WWE Raw at the T-Mobile Arena at 5:00. We were out of there before 8, went back to the hotel, grabbed our, we kept our room that day. I had gotten such a good deal on hotel, which honestly ended up making, I think, my trip even better was the hotel that we were in. And so we kept it for that day so we can go chill at the hotel for a little bit, charge up, headed to the hotel around the airport around 9:00. Spent some time in the Chase Sapphire Lounge, probably a little too much time. And then as I walked over to my gate, I realized that at the gate next to me, leaving about 15 minutes before me, was a flight to Orlando, which that's where WWE, a lot of the wrestlers live. And I was just sitting there watching probably, I would say 40 or 50 WWE wrestlers get on this flight. And I didn't, stop anybody. At that point, they were all exhausted and, whatever. But I had fun just watching it and texting Jeff, like, as everyone was coming in. But yeah, so that was the end of that. And then I, took my red eye again, had a layover in Nashville. That was a little longer, definitely felt a little more daunting. I think I was there for like 2.5 hours ish. But I got like a minute suite and hung out for an hour there, charged up, and then got on my flight, and I was home by noon and went to pick my kids up at school after.
Nice. Look, Mr. Dad comes back from his trip and is fully awake and is 100% on, I'm sure, at that point, right?
Well, on enough, and then I took off Tuesday so I can recover it. Get that day to myself.
Totally get that.
Almost as cool as my celebrity spotting at the airport, Jeff, though, isn't it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I'm gonna post this picture also, I think, too. So for those that aren't aware, I think I shared it's my personal Insta, but not to the actual show Insta. So we get to the airport on Monday to get ready for our flight. I go to check my luggage, not a problem. Daniel gets his tag. He's standing at the desk talking to somebody, and to Daniel's right, about like 5 feet over, is an HO by Ric Flair. So I got a picture of it. I posted it up somewhere or whatever. I was like, oh, look who photobombed Daniel at the airport. And it's just Ric Flair just kind of like just doing his own thing back there. It was very funny, I thought. It was really cool.
And I had no idea. I didn't even spot it when I was standing talking. So.
Yeah, Daniel had no idea, I think, until after it was over as we're walking away. I showed him the picture, and he's like, oh, wow, look at that. So he got himself a free photo op with Ric Flair, I guess, which was neat, right?
Yeah. It was awesome. But yeah, that's what we're here for, some free photo ops. I know you guys are all about the free photo op, so I think that's free photo op.
That's what I was going to mention. So just, it doesn't fall into like one of my, like, it wasn't planned, I should say, but just to give a timeline here, as Jeff said earlier, like I said, I wasn't going to WrestleMania this year. WrestleMania was announced for New Orleans, end of February of last year. Then there was like online rumors that they might be pivoting to Vegas. So I, being the savvy traveler that I like to think that I am, went and booked a 6-night stay at the MGM Grand for the weekend I guessed WrestleMania was going to be on, which was a week later than usual.
I was going to say, because to be fair, when they changed the location, they also changed the date as well, which selfishly helped me because initially I think WrestleMania in New Orleans was going to be right after my family Disney World vacation, which would have been back-to-back, which would have been a pain. So the fact that it was like a few weeks apart selfishly helped me. And somehow you guessed the fact that it would be later in the month versus when.
And the original date would have had me away for my wife's 40th birthday. So I would have been out. So that's why I booked for, the 6 days. I was like, well, if everything works, I can do this. Also, the rumor was that part of their holdup was they were having trouble getting the dates they wanted. So I booked the MGM Grand. I checked my email confirmation. I booked this on May 23rd, 2025.
Yep.
They announced WrestleMania was going to be in Las Vegas and the date on June 11th. So I'd already had my
later,
room
yeah.
booked for over 2 weeks.
Yep.
At that point, coincidentally, I could have never known this. I booked before it was announced. The WWE wrestlers were also staying at the MGM Grand. So Wednesday, after we left Jeff and Daniel after the Pottermania show, we walked back to the hotel, as one does in Vegas. I was like, I'll walk the strip a little bit, have a drink. Saw a wrestler as we were walking back, got into our hotel, and there was just wrestlers in the lobby. And at that point, all the wrestlers seemed very happy as long as you weren't crowding them. If someone said no, you walk away.
Right.
It was pretty relaxed. I got a ton of free photo ops. But it was just a really good time with a couple of friends. I was there with my buddy Lucas, my friend Mike, and then David, who's from the Major Wrestling Theory podcast. David Truitt also swung by and hung out for a little bit.
Nice.
After Wednesday, pictures were posted on social media. Everyone knew where the wrestlers were staying.
Right.
The lobby was pretty much unusable. There was mobs of fans. They were unruly. And after Wednesday, I actually didn't set foot in our lobby until I walked out for WrestleMania Saturday, when I figured out the easiest way to get out of the hotel and walk there. Otherwise, I was taking the back. I was taking the shuttle. I was going out further down the strip. It was crazy. Reports online said that people were accosting wrestlers. I didn't see it, but based off how crazy the hotel was, I totally would believe it.
And to be fair, for those that were out there in terms of why it wasn't that crowded the first day, last year it was a different hotel, right? Last year the WWE wrestler stayed somewhere else, so it's not like people assumed, hey, it was MGM last year, it's this year again. So
correct, it was a different hotel this year. And also, I will say, I think that most people probably don't fly in Wednesday. Most people come in on Thursday,
right,
or even Friday.
Yeah.
But the other thing, it's in this social media age, someone posts a picture online. It's Las Vegas.
Yes.
All these casinos, while they're all huge, they all have a unique look. So someone posts a picture and, in the background, you see a golden lion, or you can see a sign that says, MGM Grand or anything like that.
Right.
And all it takes is one picture posted, and then that starts getting reposted and retweeted. And, next thing you know, there's literally hundreds of fans in the lobby.
Definitely. So again, awesome experience. I'll say my only WE wrestler experience that I ran into in the wild was probably Charlie Dempsey. As Daniel and I, when we were waiting for one of the collective shows, might have been spring break, I'm not sure. And probably because Charlie was at Bloodsport earlier in the day. A bunch of wrestlers were randomly walking by, and I tried getting, who did I try? There was one wrestler I asked for a picture with, and he basically, Ricochet. So a year-old buddy Ricochet, I tried to get a picture with, and he was like, nah, he just kept walking. What a jerk. But Charlie Dempsey was super nice. I'm a huge fan of his. Got a picture with his dad, William Regal, at Bloodsport back in August. So for me, I was able to finish the set, which was pretty neat. So,
and that's funny that was your random meet. Charlie Dempsey, Lucas, who I stayed with and who I did my whole trip with, one of his biggest wants he wanted was a picture of Charlie Dempsey. So that was a focus of making sure that we were at WWE World when he was a free spot. And then I don't even know if they ended up posting that. I don't think he was there, but we walked back from Pottermania Wednesday before we got to the hotel where we saw all the wrestlers, which he ended up being. We saw him walking the strip. We were just having a drink and, approached him, and he was a super nice guy.
Yeah.
And we took some pictures at one of if you from the Vegas Strip, there are these overpasses for pedestrians, and we have a picture of him. You can see random sites behind us.
Nice.
So in my role as ex-host of this show, do I get a couple of questions for you guys? Is that okay?
Always, of course, yeah. But before I go any further, though, I did want to, and I'd be remiss if I didn't, thank Daniel for his fantastic photography abilities, skills, and his energy to take pictures. As he's become my official/unofficial photographer for these trips. So Daniel, who doesn't like to get pictures of himself taken that often, is always very giving in terms of taking pictures for me and of me. So thank you, Daniel.
It's a lot of pressure, I'm not going to lie. Cool. So question for you two, obviously you guys are massive into your pictures. Who is the one that you guys were most excited to get? What was your favorite?
Brett Marcus, you want to go first?
No, you can go first.
Okay. So for me, I'll say the Steve Austin picture was probably one of, if not the. I have a massive collection from the last 30 years or so. And he's one of the biggest names that's still living that I never got. And I'd never been to a convention or a show where he was there doing pictures. So it was not cheap. But Daniel and I think it's a fantastic picture of me, Daniel, and Stone Cold Steve Austin at the World that we paid for, which was really cool. There's a few others I loved as well. One of them specifically just for kind of like the event and what it was. So Paige re-debuted at WWE at WrestleMania Night 1. And then they immediately pulled her from WrestleCon and had her do paid signings at Sunday's World event. So I immediately bought a picture with her wearing my WrestleMania 42 jersey. So it kind of commemorates like her return. It's a picture with her. I got a picture with her a few years ago at a convention with one of my daughters. So I was happy to get this one. The one picture I will say that I did miss getting, but there's nothing we could have done about it, was, and we were supposed to have a group photo with Cody Rhodes. This was the second time that Daniel and I got shut out with the Cody Rhodes picture, as at AEW Wrestling back in 2022, we had paid $70 for a pre-show photo op with Cody. He ended up no showing because of, I don't know if he had COVID or if someone in his house had COVID or whatever the deal was. So instead of getting a picture with Cody, we got pictures with the Captain Sean Dean, Thunder Rosa, and Mark Henry. So, I mean, at the time, it felt like a good 1-for-1 or 3-for-1 just from a value perspective. But looking at it now in terms of what the three of them cost versus what a Cody costs, it's like night and day. I think my Cody photo ops are probably cursed at this point in the fact that if we try again, something else will happen. But with that said, I did miss it, but it was what it was. So as a group, we ended up getting a picture with Gunther, which ended up leading to a kind of funny story, I think, anyway. So I was happy with our group photo of the three of us, plus Lucas and Gunther.
Yep. I would say Randy Orton, for the same reason that Jeff said, Stone Cold Steve Austin. He is one of the biggest names in wrestling that I've never met before. I would say Jey Uso, for a similar reason, especially also, being at WrestleMania 41 where he had his, career moment, so being there for that. The Miz, for a similar Cody reason, although I was able to get this photo, I have taken a picture with The Miz 2 other times. The first time, I don't know who took it. It was like, we were like in an environment. It was for a charity event before WrestleMania 29, I want to say. And I was like with a group of friends, and somebody took the picture of me and The Miz, and after the event got lost in the shuffle. This was, like when we were still using cameras, and I just never got it. And then I saw him crossing the street right after John Cena's last match in December, and I took a picture with him that is just beyond blurry and not fixable. so to get that done, is great. And then the other one is Matt Cardona, who I have countless pictures with. That being said, he is now back in WWE as Matt Cardona, not as Zack Ryder, his prior gimmick. And, for me and Lucas together, who are, two big fans of the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, to have a picture with Matt on like a official WWE backdrop, was something that I really appreciate. When he wasn't with WWE, every year at WrestleMania, we were going to the live podcast and, getting a picture with him anyway. So I felt like it was kind of like a full circle moment to get a picture with him in a WWE backdrop now that he's back with the company.
That's right. Cool.
Awesome. So real quick, actually add from the photo perspective. So there were a couple of the pictures thinking about too. So Daniel and I had gotten the suite package for WrestleMania, and we got a bunch of wrestlers that came to the suite across the 2 days. So what I'll say is, similar to Marcus with The Miz, this was my first Miz picture that I got because The Miz came to the suite. And the awesome thing about it too was I got a picture with The Miz, which was awesome. The Miz, I'm sure in real life, is friends with Paige. And he was in the suite with us, I think, when Paige made her surprise return. Yeah. So he probably knew she was going to come out, but like he was definitely playing up that, oh my God, it's a huge surprise. I can't believe it. And then he dropped the data point at the end that she's the first person probably ever that her 2 debuts or returns with the company won a title in both matches, which was a pretty cool data point there. Also, similar to you, saw Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green came to the suite, which was neat. Daniel's favorite Jimmy Hart came the second day, which was what it was.
But no Joe Hendry, so the world was a good place.
Yes, unfortunately, Noam Dar didn't show up either, so maybe next year we'll get him. Last things also about the world, I would say. So, like I said before, I enjoyed a lot of the free photo ops. So, Pete Dunne, who is wrestling under a mask as one of the Grande Americana guys, he did a photo op, which I thought was really cool because it's one of those things where, I've got a picture, I think with Pete Dunne from last year, but to get him like in gimmick with the mask, I thought was really neat. pictures with the referees. So like Jessica Carr, one of the main referees nowadays, like she did Photo Ops the World. That was neat. And a few others of the free ones too. Sam Roberts was a fun one too, which I try to get with him whenever I can. What I will say blew me away about pictures at the World, and this is where kind of I overthink the situation and get nervous and anxious, but like it just works as it's supposed to, was so the way that it generally worked when you bought a paid photo op at the World was when you're about to get your picture taken or before, they would scan a QR code on your phone. Then you get your picture taken, and then you go to the table and pick up the picture. Then they scan your QR code, and they scan the picture. And then all of a sudden, if you bought the digital, it's just immediately emailed to you. Now, the amount of anxiety I had from an hour and a half before my first picture of how does this even work? Like, I was like, there's no way I'll get the digital picture. It's going to get lost or whatever. But it was super turnkey, and it was super quick. Like, you took the picture, you scanned it, and within like 30 seconds, they emailed it to you and you had it, which just blew me away, which I was super excited about. And it just made me happy just to kind of see a system work as it's supposed to.
So I actually learned something really interesting, and it is a seamless process. It's Epic Photos does it. Not to give out free plugs on your podcast, but I just did. It is incredible that it's like you take your picture, and in the time it takes from you to walk out of the photo area to the exit of the photo area, your 8x10 is printed.
Yes.
Real time. But what I learned, which is actually very interesting, is that it doesn't just go from camera to printer. It actually goes from camera to computer to printer. And there is somebody sitting back there who is touching them up if anything is skewed, like doing a quick shift. And also, they do, usually the photographers, if they catch a blink, they have you retake it. There are also times where they will catch that on the printout and send you back. So from photo to quick edit, look over to printing is about 90 seconds. Then, as Jeff said, from there, they scan your QR code and the barcode on the bottom of the photo, and it's in your email immediately. And it's a very, very impressive, seamless system.
It blew me away. I've been to many conventions, and obviously this is next level because it's a huge convention. And also just the sheer number of pictures, right? Like when you're in line to get a picture with Steve Austin or even Kit Wilson or anybody, like legitimately, like you're not really getting a moment with them, right? Like basically you go in there, you get your picture, and like literally you have 3 seconds with them, if that. So thinking about like every 3 seconds or 5 seconds, there's another picture going off. And to your point, by the time he gets the printer, it's there and somebody touched it up, whatever. Like that is such a system or a process that like I am in love with. Like I can't believe just how well it works.
Agreed.
Yep. And also quick shout out. I loved my Kit Wilson picture as well. We're both flexing. So that was fun. Daniel, did you have any other questions?
No, I think we'll go with that for now. So let's keep going, Jeff.
Jeff, how many photo ops did you add to your collection this trip?
So I think I got about 45 or 50. I have to see the total number or whatever, because there's a couple of them in there too where like I had to, like, if I got multiple pictures with somebody on this trip, I tried to kind of filter down to one. You know, like for example, with the referees, you got a picture, then you got a picture holding your hand up or whatever. Like that feels like it's cheating to call that 2 or 3 pictures. Like it is one meet, you know, for the most part. I'll get to Marcus. I have another question for you in a second, but I did want to talk about some of the really cool experiences at the World. So 2 things that come to mind that I loved was one of them was the wrestler entrance experience, where basically you wait in the line and you pick any wrestler's song and entrance like Titantron, and you do the entrance like as them. So over the last few months, I've really become, I guess, like almost infatuated with Kit Wilson. Like I love what he does. I love his gimmick. I love everything about it. So I did the entrance to Kit Wilson. He does the flexing, which is a lot like the pose I do in pictures. So it's kind of like a 1-to-1. I felt very goofy doing it. And to be honest, I did watch his entrance on YouTube a few times while I was in line to kind of remind myself of what it looked like. The entrance isn't great that I do, but it was a lot of fun. And with an audience, I definitely got a lot of laughs, whatever, which was really cool. So I enjoyed that a lot. How
long do you think that you were in line for that?
So I was probably in line for I'm going to say about 35 or 40 minutes, maybe. Because
I walked over there with you.
Yes.
And then you were like, I'm going to do this. I went through a line of free photos.
Yes.
Came back, and as I was waiting, I had this super awkward experience where I was like standing right. You were like, oh, there's 3 people. And then there was like there was a circumstance where like there was, someone with special needs. They were trying to take care of him, so they cut, and it was just like you said you were 3 people away, and then time just started crawling, and I'm like standing there at the end, and there's this guy who I don't know. I'm not sure if he was intoxicated or wasn't totally there, but whatever it is, he had a championship belt, and he asked me if I could help put it on him. And he was like a larger fellow, and championship belts are not very forgiving. And I have like my fingers like wedged in between trying to snap these closed. And Lucas at that point comes back from WrestleCon. He's like texting me on the way, and he's like, "Hey, I gotta run to the photo line, whatever else." I was like, "I'll go with you. Just meet me. I'm waiting for Jeff to do the thing." He walks up and at this point sees me with my hands in this guy's back, snapping the. He looks me dead in the eye and just keeps walking. Not looking. So he's like looking back at me and just like beelining. And then I was like, I can't chase him down. I just texted him. I was like, well, that was an experience. I'll go meet you on this line, but I can't like run after you right now because that would make it even more uncomfortable.
So, Marcus, let me ask you this. So, at what point during this situation did you realize you were past the point of no return, but you're also kind of like, oh, what did I sign up for?
It was before it even happened. Like I was standing there waiting, and this guy started striking up a conversation with me, and I was just like, it's one of those things where like I try to be a nice person.
Of course.
I'm not always. I try. But it was like I don't always love talking with strangers on lines or strangers at these events. Like if a conversation happens organically and like maybe we have a little bit in common, like I'll have a conversation. I say like straight up conversations. Like I've literally made friends in these lines, like Lucas, and like that's literally how I met him. But as this conversation was starting, this guy was just like asking these like, they were almost weird. I knew that I was like, I need to get out of this. And I had no one to turn to. You were online. Lucas wasn't back yet. And it was just like, I knew that I just had this inkling. This was like going somewhere. And I'm not sure if this was better or worse than where I thought it was going to end up with. But that's where we ended.
Okay, don't keep the listeners in tenterhooks. Did you get the belt on this guy and he was off on his merry way?
I did, but like how a wrestling belt closes, like there's 2 rows of snaps, and the goal is to like close all the snaps that are overlapping. And I was able to just close like 2 on the top row, and the bottom of the belt was like butterfly.
So last follow-up question on this situation then. Are you still sharing your location via Find Friends with him?
No, but I was with everyone else who was on that.
Awesome. The other thing I was going to say that I really enjoyed at the World from experience perspective was, Marcus, when you and I did the do your own commentary, or just to really quickly describe it, basically you're on a line, and then you have a list of like 7 or 8 different like classic matches you could pick. They show highlights, and you have like a minute or so to kind of talk over the match, which for me, I did it years ago in 2001 at WrestleMania 17 Access. I had a blast doing it with you, Marcus, because we do conversate here, we record and such like that. But I thought that we went back and forth really well. We talked a little bit about the match. We kind of played off each other. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. That's not something that I would normally do. Like I walked past that booth 100 times, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, over the course of the days I was at the World.
Yeah.
And I never would have. I mean, if Lucas was there with me, was like, "Hey, let's do this," like maybe I would have said yes. I never have sat down there alone. And I would have just walked by, but you were like, "We should do this," and I was like, "All right, fine." Like that's like when in Rome, what else? It was a great time. Yeah, you and I obviously, as people can tell listening to this, like we laugh a lot. We have a good time. I was like towing the comment. We did The Rock versus Hulk Hogan, and I was like towing the line of everything I could without calling Hulk Hogan a racist while we were on. But I'll say it here because it's correct. But I was like, I didn't want them to like pull our recording or not give it to us. But that was as I kept going. You were like, "Oh, it's 2 legends," and I was like, "Well, 1 legendary person and 1 mediocre human." And I just like, kept going back there. It was a good time. I mean, it takes a little bit for me to come out of my shell. I feel like once we did that once, if we would have got back in line and did a second one, it probably would have been like great, but we had other stuff to do, like
Yeah.
have you do your pelvic gyrations as Kit Wilson and such.
Absolutely. I think my favorite part of that conversation, though, was so earlier in the day, I don't remember who it was, but somebody had commented on your New Jack t-shirt. So, and you had said, yeah, I got it from Pro Wrestling Tees or from the crate or something like that.
Yeah.
So we had like an eighth of a second lull. And so we're staring at each other and I'm like, hey, I love your t-shirt. And he's going off about it. And then all of a sudden it takes us back in 2000 and whatever year it was, the match happened and he was still alive. And we kind of went into abyss from there. But it was actually really funny.
Yeah, we just kind of like spiraled, but that was a good time.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So we are running late in time. So a couple of things I still want to get over with this here. So Daniel, of these souvenirs that you purchased or you experienced or whatever, what are you most excited about, proud about, or what do you like the most?
Okay, so first of all, proud of.
Yes.
I have a collection of about 15 of these that I acquired from the On Location Suite. For
those that can't see it, it's the official WrestleMania Vegas plastic cup,
which retail for about $9, I think, in the store.
Yes.
But we managed to acquire quite a few at the WrestleMania Suite. My next is also Jeff's favorite. We got a free Roman Reigns ring Funko Pop, which we know that I'm keeping this for Jeff for when he finally retires. It's his retirement gift from me, because anyone that's listened to the pod before knows how massive fan Jeff is of Roman Reigns. And in all seriousness, the coolest thing is every GCW show that I go to where they do the event posters and get them signed, I buy them. So I've probably got about 30 or 40 of them now, but I actually managed to get the signed event poster from all of the shows, but Spring Break is really cool because I think it's the first time Brody Lee Jr.'s ever signed anything that I'm aware of. Nice. Like from a GCW, like
I was gonna say outside of a friend of the show, Lucas's 2-pack.
Yeah, from a poster perspective, I don't think he's ever done any GCW pictures before. So, but some cool auras on here. The Invisible Man did not autograph it, that I'm aware of.
No, Daniel, if you look closely, he used Invisible Ink. He did sign it.
So I can't see where he signed him. I'm sure he has, but no. But that's probably my coolest. But I bought one for, I think they had one for this, and then a couple of the other shows that were there. So I got all three of those. But that's probably my favorite piece I purchased this time.
Awesome. Very cool. So thank you for sharing. That's really, really cool. Marcus, how about yourself? I know, as you said earlier, you shipped a bunch of stuff in to get signed. I'm sure you also bought a bunch of stuff there. Some cards, obviously. Like, what are you most excited about that you got there?
So I actually was pretty light on souvenirs this year. I felt like I had, spent a lot, committed a lot at WWE World. And then with the fact that I skipped WrestleCon, I wasn't able to. Usually I take some consignments, people send me their stuff, I get it signed, I make some money that way. So without that, I was a little light on souvenirs this year. I got a bunch of autographs that I love. I got the Major Players 2-pack signed by Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. I also got some figures signed by Chelsea Green and a figure signed by Randy Orton. But I would say of like things that I didn't ship there and then get signed and sent home was they were selling a box of exclusive cards at WWE World. It's called WWE. It was Topps Chrome Logo Fractor is what it's called. You can only buy it there, or if you have like distribution from Topps, which who has that? It was $100 a box. They were limiting it to one per purchase. Over the course of 5 days there, I ended up with 9 boxes. I sold 7 of them, and I opened 2 of them. And the cards that I pulled from, they're really cool. They're unique. Again, they're only available there. Got some really great hits out of there. They did load the box well, and I would say that was probably my favorite thing I purchased. I still have a /10 Joe Hendry rookie card that Daniel is going to be purchasing from me once PSA opens up and I could submit it for grading.
I'll trade you for Roman Reigns Funko ring if you want.
that feels like a fair trade.
We'll talk. I think that there's some money that needs to be included in there, but we'll talk.
On which side? But we'll continue.
And if Jeff, if your answer to this same question isn't us getting to watch you open a really cool memorabilia box, we're going to be really upset.
So I'm going to mention first. I want to shout out Marcus though, because one of the cards that he did pull in one of those boxes was a Sal Ruka autographed to 25, which then I eventually bought off of him as a huge Sal Ruka fan.
I just will say is already substantially higher in value than what you paid. Great investment for you. Thank you. That's a good one to hold for sure.
I appreciate that. But again, what I paid for the box did more than pay for the box back or the card more than paid for your box there.
Oh no, I'm not complaining. I'm happy I sold it, but I think that is a great card to hold. I know that you collect her, but that's definitely one that over time will hold great value.
Yep, absolutely. And what I'll say too is, so first of all, again, similar to Marcus, I bought a bunch of those Topps boxes at $100 a piece. I sold 2 of them for double what I paid for them on eBay. So basically that covered my cost for the 2 that I kept. So I was pretty excited about that. I was able to sell them almost immediately on eBay. So that was pretty exciting. 2 of the things that I thought were really cool that I got that I really couldn't have gotten anywhere else either. So number one, a pair of Danhausen shorts. So they had a pair of like Danhausen like sweat shorts in the World Superstore, which since I still have not seen them on the WWE website or Fanatics or anywhere. So I don't know if it was a test run or whatever it was, but I absolutely love them and I wear them all the time. They're super comfortable. And as I love just representing Danhausen. So that was one of my favorite pickups. The other one that Daniel was alluding to earlier was I'd bought a mystery box. This is a pretty jumbo mystery box that they sold at the Superstore, which there's a couple of pros and cons to it. So it was a little pricey. But the cool thing was that they would almost put it on like for like an unveiling like show where you get to go like on a platform and this guy with the microphone little by little opens the box and takes one thing out at a time. Now the box is very hit or miss for me. So like on a plus side, I did get a autographed Steve Austin picture, which was really, really cool. I think it was the bloody Steve Austin from like WrestleMania 13. Loved the picture. Yeah. Really great. I got a signed Damian Priest mini belt from WrestleMania 41, which is cool. It's fine. And then it kind of went downhill from there. I got a signed Jimmy Hart Funko Pop, which I have since sold on eBay, probably for far below what the Funko unsigned would go for. But it's not in my inventory anymore. It was kind of annoying me sitting there. And then I also got a Kabuki Warriors autographed T-shirt to 25, which I've also since sold on eBay. So I would say just
how'd you do on the shirt?
On the shirt, I got I think $100 for it.
Okay, not bad. Okay,
yeah. I mean, based on what I paid for the whole box, I mean, I think I would say I probably broke even or slightly below, but the experience made up for it. Like I thought, this is a really cool, this overall kind of situation.
Just to talk about this box real quick. So
yeah,
Jeff they also have these mini helmets that are that are WrestleMania branded and then they're signed. And it's like a mystery unwrapped, they call it, right? So you buy it, it's sealed, and then you open it and you find out if, first off, what autograph you got, and second off, if it's like a limited run or not. So I'll be honest, Jeff and Daniel are laughing. I don't even remember who Jeff got. All I remember is it wasn't very good. And it was Sean Spears. Okay, so you got Sean Spears. Who I got a free photo up with at WWE World. But then Jeff was like, "Oh, I want to go buy another one." And Jeff's walking the store. I look at Daniel. I was like, "You want to watch an upsell right now?" Full disclosure, I am in sales for a living, and also my side hustle is selling things. So I just started pitching Jeff. I was like, "Hey, they got this box. It's awesome. There's a lot of cool stuff in it. Like you're guaranteed a mini belt and blah blah blah." And we walked in. I was like, "Jeff, this is the box." And lo and behold, we turned around thinking he was going to be like, "Marcus, you're an idiot. I'm getting my helmet." And they had a Danhausen signed hat. And instead, we turned out and Jeff is on the checkout line with this 5-item box, and Daniel and I were just dying. And then, as they're like unboxing it, and the guy's like, "Oh, we got Jimmy Hart." Yeah, we got Jimmy Hart, but yeah.
And then you had to get that box.
I apologize. That was a forced upsell, but that's
no. So I mean, to be honest, you mentioned I probably would have bought it regardless. I love the experience. Like I love different things. So seeing like just the fact that they open the box for me, whatever, and have a whole show, I thought was cool. But the ultimate rib though was me initially. I'm like, okay, how am I gonna get this box home, right? Because unlike somebody else who's on this podcast right now, I was flying economy. So I didn't necessarily have that much extra space that I can kind of like put something on the airplane. So immediately at the Vegas Convention Center, as Daniel and I are leaving, we go to, there's like a FedEx location there. And I'm like, okay, let's see what this will cost. They wanted, Daniel, keep me honest here, like $150 to ship it home.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they get to me like 2 weeks. I'm like, no, like that's not, like I will pay for their checked bag, which would cost me like not much.
I offer my services because, again, as a psychopath, I do travel with a thermal label printer, just like everyone else does.
Like Daniel did too, right? Of course. Yeah.
So I was like, hey Jeff, if you want to swing by the MGM Grand, I can print you out a label and you could just ship it home.
Yeah.
But you ended up with figuring it out. So you're fine.
Yeah, I was able to move some stuff around in my suitcase and use that as my carry-on. And apparently, if you sit in economy plus, they'll look away when you bring the extra bag on the flight sometimes too. So
or a large black box.
It worked out pretty well. We are running towards the end of time. So last question I have for both of you guys before we call it a day. So Daniel, assuming we go back in 2 years, wherever WrestleMania is, whether it be London, whether it be New Orleans, Nashville, whatever it might be, is there anything different that you would do from an overall week perspective, or do you see your week kind of rolling out in a similar way to this year?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this one a lot, and it's probably actually a controversial one. Is I could probably do it and not go to WrestleMania, if I'm being totally honest. I would probably do it because if we were going together, but this year we also missed out on a couple other really cool independent shows. So obviously we did GCW, but House of Glory had a really cool show in town, a couple of others. So I think I would actually maybe sacrifice some of the other stuff, pick up another couple of the independents, and then make a call at Mania, because Mania was fine. I think that I'm good doing similar what we did with the World. I would definitely go back to the World. I was okay without WrestleCon. I don't think we needed the complication of WrestleCon. I would definitely do the World again, but probably similarly to how I did just now, get a couple of pictures, hit the store, do the experiences. But for me, it wouldn't be massively different. It would probably just be maybe looking at a couple of those other independent wrestling companies who've put on some incredible shows. But no, definitely
Awesome.
up there again.
Awesome. And to be fair, some of the shows like House of Glory, shout out to Joey Silver, those were announced like last minute.
Yeah.
So it was a case of we'd already had our collective and GCW tickets or whatever, and they went up against.
Oh yeah,
this
is not a feedback for my planner. This is not feedback for the planner. This is
of course,
the future.
Of course, and I'm working on cloning myself off for next time, maybe. But assuming I can't clone myself off, obviously we've got to prioritize as we always do.
And if we end up back up in Vegas, we need to do the high roller. That's been twice now. Mark has not done the high roller with you, so that's the other commitment right now. If it's back in Vegas, we're doing the high roller.
Definitely. So Marcus, now that you've done Vegas 2 years in a row, wherever it might be in 2 years, let's say, and let's pretend it's not New Orleans. Let's pretend it's a place that you're going to go to and want to go to. What would you do differently, or would you do everything basically the same as this year?
I'm gonna say both. If things in 2 years, if things are how they are now, meaning that this is a Marcus Perkal / Marcus Brandon getaway from my family, from parenting and all that, I would keep it the exact same. I would go out Wednesday. That, for me, the last 4 years, I think every year on Wednesday, we end up doing something that's just a ton of fun. It's like a great, start to the trip, usually a relatively early night. This year, it was Pottermania and then hanging out in the lobby for a little bit, and, getting countless photos. So I always love that. And then I really do like staying for that Raw after, depending on, where they're located, if you can do that and take a red eye, or, if it's East Coast, I'm not that worried about travel. I would keep it the same. That being said, if things continue how they're going in my household right now, in 2 years, this will not be a solo Marcus trip. I will have my then 7-year-old, currently 5-year-old daughter, Lexi, in tow, which I think would then be a very different trip. Definitely shorter, because she can't miss 3 or 4 days of school to go to WrestleMania. Right. Also, obviously she needs sleep similar to Jeff, so she can't be out till 3 a.m. and then wake up at 7. So I think it will be a bit lighter. And that's honestly part of why I did this trip, how I did this year, as long as I did, committed to as much as I did at WWE World, because if I do go in a couple years and my trip's different, because it's now I'm making memories with my daughter, that will be amazing. But I wanted to make sure that I got that Randy Orton photo op, and that I met a bunch of wrestlers that I hadn't met before, that I want to make sure I did meet. Because she's not going to hang out in lines all day, Right. Depending on where this is, we'll be doing kid stuff.
Yes.
So if it's just me solo, I'll do this exactly again and have the time of my life. And if it's not, the trip will be modified, but it would ultimately be for the best, because there'll be some great memories to be had.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's a great opportunity if you can get your daughter to go with you. Obviously, taking a 7-year-old versus taking a 40-something-year-old outside of sleeping habits is a very different experience, let's say. So totally get it. And obviously trying to make memories, and hopefully she's still into wrestling, in 2 years as that happens. For me, as I mentioned earlier, I think I would definitely adjust. I would definitely try to schedule more Worlds time, as I really enjoyed the photo ops with the wrestlers. From a collective perspective, I think I would probably just go spring break maybe. So maybe just that show on Friday is kind of like a one ticket. So instead of buying the package where I get every single event there, because realistically I go to like half of them, and even a couple of them I left early just because, Jeff needs to sleep. I would definitely adjust based off of that. I mean, I definitely see a world where we all stay at the same hotel or do similar situations, but similar to Daniel, I think this year it was great in the fact that we did a lot of stuff together. We were cool separating whenever we wanted to. It was kind of a best of all worlds,
Totally.
Yeah. Cool. So again, thank you guys for the experience. Thank you guys for talking about it here as always.
So we're officially out for next year. Is that where we're ending this pod? We're officially out for 2027.
So I would say for myself, likely, if they do something in the States, not them, but like AEW and Indies, there's a chance, but I would need more details, and it have to be something that really gets me excited, wrestling wise. So it's far from a done deal at this point. Plus, to be fair, also with my older daughter starting college, I got to prioritize some time in terms of different things, and my life looks a little bit different. But I would be open to it, but it would be dependent on a couple of variables.
It seems like the online rumor is that there will be like a wrestling event, maybe indie focused or AEW, potentially WrestleCon in the US. Depending on where that is, I would maybe be in. That honestly could also be a good experience for maybe I would take, Lexi to that, who would then be 6. But I'm 100% solidly not going to WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. There's no question.
Agreed.
I was 100% out on New Orleans because I didn't think it would be enjoyable. So for the same reasons, I would 100% be out on that. But if there is some wrestling spectacle, WrestleMania weekend in the US, I'm not ready to count myself out of that yet.
Yep. And Daniel just messaged me. He said he's 110% out on Saudi Arabia. I think is what he had said was the exact quote. So he's probably not going either. I'd say I'm also out as well. Marcus, before we call it a day, is there anything that you want to plug, talk about, or put out there to the world?
As always, same plugs. If you're interested in wrestling cards, what's your coworker's name?
Claire.
Claire, yes, yeah. Claire. This is where we talk about cards.
Yes.
If you're interested in wrestling trading cards, please check me out on Whatnot. If you want to buy singles, if you want to get into breaks, I'm happy to educate. It's at Marcus Brandon. Marcus is a C in it. And Marcus Brandon on Whatnot. At Marcus B Breaks on Instagram and Marcus Brandon Breaks on eBay.
That's right. And it's a solid eBay store. There's a lot of stuff up there. Not all cards. So Claire, if you're looking for barbecue sauce or stickers, you can probably find some stuff up there as well. So
there is no sauce currently available on my eBay.
I apologize. It's sold out. I apologize.
There are stickers from Pliable though.
Very cool. Very cool. I think he has some Qdoba napkins up there too, but I'm not sure. Daniel, anything you want to shout out before we call today?
No shout out. Just thank you guys again for an awesome trip. Jeff for organizing, Marcus another awesome trip. So thank you guys.
Definitely.
Awesome. So thank you guys as always, and thank you to all the listeners as always too. As a reminder, on Instagram, you can find us at Everybody Has a Story Pod, YouTube at Everybody Has a Story Pod. You can email the show directly at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com for all things Jeff Seltzer. You can always check me out at jeffseltzer.com. We are on all podcast platforms, video on Spotify and YouTube, audio on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio. Everywhere you can find a podcast, you can probably find this one. Back in a couple of weeks, I have a couple of cool interviews lined up. Also, we have a special 2-year anniversary show coming up very soon with an amazing guest who's probably going to replace me for the day. And also, before we drop off too, lastly, wanted to shout out and congratulate Mark.Radio for celebrating their 100th episode. For those that don't remember, me and them started exactly the same week. Dana from that podcast was actually my first guest. Since I'm only at episode 70, they're at 100. They go weekly. That means that I've skipped 30 weeks. So the math is mathing. It helps me to keep myself honest there, I guess. With that said, everyone have an amazing week, amazing time. Back soon. Follow the Instagram, and you'll see when we're up next. Take care, everybody.
Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer.